We are now recording. Everything you say can and will be used against you on this podcast.
Welcome to the channel. Today we are going to be speaking about, Lisa, what are we speaking about today? What are we talking about? We're going to do things a little bit different today.
Yeah. We are going to be talking about current events. About all the craziness that is happening in our world. Specifically, our small part of the world, Michigan, and our nation.
And we are ruled by crazy.
Yes, we are.
She cray cray.
Yes. Yeah, and getting crazier by the day.
They have lost their minds. And I feel like, although I don't personally know for sure, I feel like nobody's standing up against it.
Agreed. Anybody who tries is just silenced. So,
are we going to be silenced?
I would say that the probability of us being silenced is probably pretty high.
Negatory. Not happening.
They can try.
We will be on the corners on a box.
Heck yeah, we will.
Before they will allow us to be silenced. I'm not certain anyone could silence me.
I don't think that either of us have the capability of being silent.
You know, I sent something off to my dad today, and it's something that I heard on a program on the radio, and it basically, I sent him, I'm reading the text message I sent, and it's thought today, going around in my head, faith is doing the right thing regardless of the consequences. And I feel like, geez, oh, Petey's, since what, 2019, I feel more and more I have just been on this progression of standing up and for the right thing.
Yes.
And here's the deal with that. And this may offend some people when I say this.
Sorry, not sorry.
It is not my job as a woman to be the one standing up.
True.
Where are all of the men? Where are you at, men, standing up for the rights of your families, the rights of your children? I sit here and I watch these school board meetings of children getting up and speaking against, and I know we're going off on a secondary topic here a little bit, but
that is okay.
Children standing up against information that has been handed out to them, or things they're being forced to do, or things they're being forced to not say or say, accept, not accept. And I mean, kudos to those kids.
Absolutely.
That has to be incredibly hard.
Yes.
Especially as a child, to stand up in front of a whole room of people, and these school board meetings and these town hall meetings have been packed with both sides.
Yep.
But why is it up to the children?
It shouldn't be. It absolutely shouldn't be. That is not their job.
Why is it up to the women?
Yep.
I'm pretty sure in the Bible we're called to be meek and mild.
To be a helpmate.
And quiet.
Ooh, failing that one.
I don't think I can.
I don't think so either. I'm less of a Proverbs 31 wife some days and more of a JL.
What's JL?
The lady in the Bible who puts the spike through the guy's temple.
What? I don't think I know this story.
What? That is like one of the best stories in the Bible. It's so fantastic. So he is...
Give me the Lisa version.
He's like a warrior, but he's for the bad guys. And he comes into her tent, and she, like, lulls him. She gives him a drink and tells him to take a nap. She waits. The minute he falls asleep, she's like, whoop-a-cha! Spike right through his temple. Kills him. Dead.
Because he's
the bad guy. He's one of the bad soldiers. And she was standing up for her community and fighting back. And, yeah.
I think I'm more like her, too.
I know. I love Jael. She's like one of my favorite female heroes of the Bible. But Yeah, she didn't have a man to stand up for her, so she stood up for herself, and she done put that spike right through his temple.
I've always kind of been like that.
Mm-hmm.
But I've always been discouraged from being like that. But I feel like, at least over the last 6 months to a year, more and more, the people who do hear me speak up are encouraging me to speak up. I don't know if that's because they think it's the right thing to do, or they think that, well, there's no stopping her now, so you might as well just get it out of the way. It's interesting, though. Last time we talked about homesteading and being self-sufficient. And, when it comes to that, I was talking to somebody about it, and, they were asking, for instance, we bought a half a cow, and, well, where did you get that? Well, how did you know how to get that? Well, within our homeschool community, we have enough people doing enough things that we're able to find resources for just about anything that we need. And in that, right, that's community.
Yes.
It's not a huge community, but I think we're big enough to where we can all, I don't want to say rest easy, because I don't think this is rest easy times.
No, definitely not.
But homesteading can be very independent, right? You're thinking about being self-sufficient for the survival of your family and those closest around you.
Correct.
I think I hope without a shadow of a doubt, anything that I have, you can have.
Yep. Same here.
I would share.
I would even give you another aloe plant.
Okay, the aloe plant, funny story. I have a dog. Lisa gave me this huge, and as I'm looking here in our recording studio, Lisa has aloe plants all around, and they are, when I say impressive, that is an understatement. She is the aloe queen. I didn't even know she uses aloe. I don't know if she just has them there. They kind of resemble, have you ever seen a spider plant? Do you know what I'm talking about with a spider plant and how they're, the shape, they're flat, obviously, but she has spider aloe growing in her window. She gave me one, and it was ready to be branched off. So I got, nine? I had 9 total, I think.
So.
The dog ate like 8 of them.
Yeah.
The first day, when one was missing, I thought, well, that's weird. Maybe I missed a container and just forgot about it. But then the next day, when I woke up in the morning, 2 more were gone. And then I was like, okay, something's going on here. And I thought in my head, and I don't know a lot about aloe, but I thought, hey, maybe they're just wilting and going back into the soil. True story, if it's in my house, I can kill it. I have never been, I can grow a garden outside, but inside I do really bad with those plants. And then the next day, I want to say 2 more were gone, but there was a dirt trail. So it was a little more obvious what was going on. And I thought maybe it was a mouse, but then I looked at my dog's paws, and no, it wasn't a mouse. It was a dog, and she ate 8 of them. And I actually just branched off from the main one, which the main one, the really big one, she ate half of that.
Oh, no.
And it just had, it's funny, I didn't know how an aloe plant made more plants. They just show up.
Yeah, they just show up. I don't know. It just keeps happening.
and then they pull out real easy.
They have very shallow roots.
And I don't understand where it comes from. How does it? Because they're just there one day,
Yes.
like
I don't
little
know.
baby aloe plants.
Yeah. I got the original plant, and it was just, I don't know, maybe like 3 inches tall. It was just a little guy. That was it. And it has turned into, I have 5 planted right now that are in my house. There's the one that's at your house. I did a baby shower for my girlfriend, and I bought, I think, 20 of like the little glass vases from the dollar store, and took 20 baby plants out and filled each one of those. That was like the parting gift, like the take home for the guests.
Yeah,
I've
because I'm
given
looking at
them-
those. You could split those like a million times.
Oh yeah, I've sent them home with my mom. I sent them home with my sister. People come over to my house, and I'm like, hey, you want an aloe plant? You want to take one with you? Here's an aloe plant, because I don't know, they just flourish. That's the only thing I can grow.
You need to think about farmers market. You can get some good
Sell
money.
Some aloe plants, yeah.
Yeah.
That's a good idea.
They get really good money for those.
Oh.
If you are a regular on our channel, you probably figured out by now we go off on tangents
Yes, we do.
and we get off topic. And I would like to remind you that we are real moms. We are real friends. We are really in the mix of all of this. And I think this is just kind of becoming a therapeutic time for us to just get on and vent off what's in our heads, and you all get to benefit from the crazy that comes out.
And this is how all of our conversations go too. We start out, we're like, we're going to talk about blah blah, and then 10 seconds later we're down some completely different rabbit hole.
Yep.
And then 2 hours later we realize that we still never even talked about the thing that we were going to talk about in the first place.
Yep.
Because that's what we do.
Pretty much.
It's also, I think part of it is also the problem, and I know you're not diagnosed as such, but I'm going to go ahead and diagnose you right now. Dr. Lisa says that Amy is also got a touch of the ADHD.
Is that because I can't do things until the very last moment?
It's because you act just like me, and I have an official diagnosis of ADHD. So I'm sharing my diagnosis with you, because you act just like me, or I act just like you. I'm not really sure. So we act just like each other. So I'm just going to go ahead and use my professional medical opinion that I have no schooling to back up, and say that I'm pretty sure you have ADHD as well. And that explains why our conversations are everywhere.
Is that also why we never get sick of each other?
Probably yes.
Because
We don't have enough of attention span to realize we're sick of each other.
And we never finish what we're actually meant to do. So there's always a reason to come back together.
Exactly.
That's absolutely hilarious. I will have to look up the symptoms. And then I will have to see if there's a tincture that I can make up for that.
That's fantastic.
I don't know. I don't think I would change.
I would love to be more focused, but that's about it.
I would love, and I don't know if I'm going to say this the right way. Sometimes I would love to be able to do something before my brain will let me.
Yeah, that would be nice.
Do you understand what I mean by that?
I do.
Like,
I do.
I know I have weeds to pull out in my garden.
Yep.
And I know tonight when I get home, I do have to do that. But here's the deal with that. It is because it is the last possible moment
That's just going to get done.
that it needs to get done. I have known for a week and a half that I needed to do this. And I got so mad at Travis last night, my husband, because I was inside the house and he physically called me from my garden to let me know that some of the corn was knee high, and he was so excited because
Nice.
knee high by 4th of July.
Yeah.
Some of it's not. Well, some of it's not is because they are getting choked out
Oh no, by the weeds.
by the weeds.
Bad weeds.
And then he was out there pulling weeds, and I'm like, okay, I'll be out there in a minute. I was so mad when I got out there because then I'm pulling weeds, and then I'm mad because he's making me do something before my mind was ready to do it. It was not on my agenda,
Yep.
and it's really bad. Like, I think I'm going to take a propane torch out there because I think it's going to be easier to torch the weeds
That's kind of amazing.
than it will be to actually pull them.
We've had enough rain lately too that the risk of the rest of your property going up with the weeds is pretty low. So I say do it.
We play with fire a lot at the house.
Yeah.
I'm not afraid of.
Burning down your property.
Mm-mm.
That's good.
Not
That's
really. Okay, back on topic. What
Yeah.
were we talking about? We were talking about
Current crazy.
current crazy in the state of Michigan.
Yeah.
First, let me say, I hate no one.
Excellent.
I truly do believe you have the right through God to make your own choices
Yes.
independently for yourself. We don't need government regulating what we're doing. Now, I'm not saying that laws aren't helpful. Did we really, I mean, if everyone were following biblical truth, would there be a need for laws?
If everyone were following biblical truth?
Yeah.
No.
At church yesterday, he was talking about in Old Testament, he was talking about these sanctuary cities
Mm-hmm.
in Old Testament times that had been set up. And these sanctuary cities were set up to be, what did he say? I think you could get to them within a day.
Okay.
Okay? They were set up to where pretty much everyone could get to a sanctuary city within a day if you involuntarily, on accident, killed someone.
Yes.
If an accident happened, these sanctuary cities would house you for a year or until, what do you say, the ruler, the king, whoever had passed. And then for whatever reason, once that ruler had passed away, you were no longer at risk
Okay.
of being punished for what you had done involuntarily.
Okay.
Today, in today's day and age, I mean, you could cause a fatal accident. You weren't in any way intending to. It's just a mistake.
Yeah.
And depending on who the judge is, what state you're in,
Yes.
you could wind up in prison. I mean, not in Michigan, you wouldn't wind up dead, but if the state has a death penalty.
Yeah.
So before, in Old Testament times, some of these things were taken care of without having all of these additional rules. God created, I mean, I don't know if everybody's aware of this, there actually are more than 10 commandments. Now, were they meant for the Jews and not the Gentiles? They were meant for the Jews, but they were meant for the Gentiles as well. You're just not saved by the law.
Yeah.
We just tend to focus on these 10 most important commandments. I honestly do not know who stripped down to the 10 basics. Like, where did that come from? Like, who was the first person that said, okay, don't focus on everything here.
Oh, okay. Wasn't
Put
that
this
Moses?
poster in your house. Did Moses just do the 10
Well,
most
he
important?
he brought the 10 Commandments down off the mountain.
Okay, so
And God
Moses
wrote
did the
those.
10. So where did all of the others come from? Because there is like
You're talking about like Levitical law,
hundreds of other.
where there's like all the crazy, like not crazy, but all the different laws in Leviticus and like
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, which
Yeah.
that's where these sanctuary cities come from,
Yeah.
and how that, because the opposite of that is if somebody came to a sanctuary city and the person actually had done it on purpose or whatever the situation was, it was the elders of that sanctuary city were required to bring that person back.
Yeah.
Otherwise, that sanctuary city would not be protected
Yeah.
anymore.
Yep.
And I don't know if the protection was from God or like, I don't know if
A human agreement.
the
or,
king at the time was like, okay, legit, y'all can have these cities, but you have to guarantee that. And Lisa's laughing at me right now, and I don't know why you're laughing.
Because you
This
said
is-
the king was like legit.
Yeah.
I want to see the Old Testament king be like
I think the Amy
Legit.
version
push and pee.
verbally of the Bible would sound a lot different
Yeah.
than the King James that I read
Maybe a little. A
because
smidge. A skosh.
okay, I'm more like the Cliff Note version,
Yeah.
and yeah,
Yes.
I'm still pretty much biblically ignorant. Like that story that you told of the woman and the stabbing and all that. Like I feel like I've heard that somewhere, which I
Yeah.
probably have from reading the Bible.
Probably.
But I'm not to the point in my life where I'm like, oh yeah, I'm like, who was she? You said
Jael.
JL.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like
I'm going to find that in the Bible because I don't know where it is. But I'm going to find it and I'm going to send you the address of it so you can go back and read that story tonight because it's a really good story.
I have a game idea.
Okay.
Okay, do you know that game that you get and it's like 2 or 4 people, whatever, and you got like all those cards and you ask questions of do I have brown do you have brown hair?
Guess who?
Yeah.
Yeah. Biblical guess who?
Yes.
That would be awesome.
That would be awesome.
That would be.
Okay.
That would definitely test your knowledge.
I am officially saying this right now at some point.
Patent pending.
Patent pending.
Yeah.
Trademark
Don't be stealing our ideas.
in thought, registered someday.
We're coming for you.
We are going to come out with that game,
Heck yeah, we are.
and maybe future moms conference to come.
Yeah.
Wouldn't that be awesome if we were like that big and like
I would totally use that in my Sunday school.
we had a
My
con?
fourth graders would love that game.
I feel like, and I don't know if I should say their names, but I'm going to say their name. The Stolers would be, you don't know who they are. We know who they are.
Yeah.
Like, they'd be really good.
I don't want to play against the Stolers. I
Yeah.
want to play on the same team as the Stolers. Because then I know I'm going to win. But if I'm against them, then they're going to stomp me.
They know everybody in the Bible.
Yes. Which is why I want to be on their team.
Were you there the day we did the food packing
Yeah.
and they played
Yeah.
that game?
Yeah.
They were good.
Yeah, they were.
Like,
So were
good.
the Andersons, though. The Andersons were really good, too.
So many.
Yeah.
All right, maybe we need a partner with them. If any of the Stolers somehow end up listening to this podcast,
Yeah.
please reach out.
Hit us up.
We will partner with you on the creation.
Hit us up, Home Slice.
Yes.
Heidi Home Slice.
Heidi Home Slice. I'm sure
Yes.
if enough of our homeschool mamas hear this podcast and listen long enough to actually get to this point, she's gonna find out.
Yes. She can find out she has a new name.
Yes.
Heidi Home Slice.
Heidi Home Slice.
I love it.
We want to make a board game with you.
Yes, we do. Okay, focusing again.
Focus.
Okay, so in Michigan, we a law is currently going through.
Pass the House.
Just a little backstory here. And the law says that if you use incorrect pronouns and the person feels threatened or offended or anything like that.
Michigan Hate Crime Act, HB 4474.
Yeah, so if the person feels offended or threatened or anything of that nature, that you can face up to 5 years in prison and or up to a $10,000 fine.
It will replace the existing Ethnic Intimidation Act and expand the categories of people protected by the law. For sexual orientation, gender identity, or expression as classes protected against intimidation.
Yes, but it's based on feelings, which is
It expands the definition of a hate crime from threats or property damage under current law to a broader definition that includes force, intimidation, threats, bodily injury, or damage to personal property. It defines intimidation as repeated or continuing harassment of another individual that causes the victim to feel terrorized, frightened, or threatened. It would not include constitutionally protected activity or conduct that serves a legitimate purpose.
So what does that mean? That serves a legitimate purpose?
If passed, the hate speech legislation would make violators guilty of a felony punishable up to 5 years in prison and a fine of $10,000. You know, the scary thing about it is, what is the victim? It leaves it open to interpretation, and that's something that I've heard a few times being talked about, and the response that came out to that argument was basically, in Amy terms, oh, come on now, why would it ever be used for something like that? Well, let's go just a little bit back in history.
Yeah.
Say 2020, when we had these bills from, the 40s, 50s? That,
oh, yeah, on the books?
yeah, that Whitmer went back to.
Yep.
And used them as her reasoning for closing down the state,
Yeah.
for shutting down people from buying gardening supplies. And yes, that actually was a thing,
Yeah.
and they were taped off. I did witness that myself.
Yeah.
I don't think she actually was saying, in her defense, I don't think she was saying gardening will cause COVID. I think what her thought process was there was that people tend to linger more in those aisles attempting to decide what to buy.
Yeah.
Instead of, but you couldn't buy them at all.
Nope.
So you couldn't even just pre-order them and do curb pickup for that kind of stuff. You legit couldn't.
Yeah.
You couldn't buy them.
Yeah. She basically weaponized an old law that people never thought would be misused.
Okay, let's go with that term that you just said, weaponized an old law.
Yeah.
Well, how's that possible? That's not, how could that even be possible?
Yes.
Well,
That our government would ever do something like that?
let's think about this for a second.
Yeah.
The state in which our government is now. Okay, pre-2019. I will be honest, I didn't follow much with politics. This might make some people mad or shock people that before 2019 I had never voted.
Oh, wow. Okay.
90% of my reasoning on that was my social anxiety.
Okay.
I
could see that.
But I also didn't take the time to look into absentee voting either.
Yeah.
I truly was brought up believing that, educated in school, that we had a balanced government. So that there were these three branches,
Yes.
and they were balanced so that one branch of the government could never have too much power.
Correct.
In addition to that, like in my head, there was this balance of conservative and liberal, balanced,
Yes.
that you didn't have to worry that, I mean, in the end, there might have been something that was passed that you were like, oh, okay, I don't like that.
Yeah.
But like the next thing that would be passed would kind of be like, okay, here's your give and take.
Yes.
And I think that for a long time, that's kind of how things were run.
Yeah, we were a little bit more protected and insulated from the extremism.
But then what ended up happening that I now know is they, and I don't know if there's like a bill or like a rule in government for this, but they took away their ability to barter on the floor, to be like, okay, if you pass, you know, if I sign on with you to pass like whatever the water bill, you need to agree to sign on with me to pass something other bill.
Oh, okay.
And they took away their ability to do that.
Oh, that's dumb.
But what that ended up creating is these 7,000 page bill packages.
Yes.
That are put together, and you know, you think that they're just passing a COVID relief bill, but really, if you were to read in those thousands of pages,
Yeah.
you know, there's money for the Rockefeller Foundation, and there's money for
Whatever other special interest group is supporting them at that moment.
right.
Right.
And so it's still going on, but it's not public now. Like you don't see it all, and they bring the bill packages at the last minute when people have like an hour left or 4 hours, whatever, to read the package, and so they're left to just look at the Cliff Note version, and
Yeah.
so the stuff gets put out there and in there that is just absolutely insane.
Yeah. Oh yeah, they sneak through all kinds of stuff because they're not adequate. They're not given adequate time to read through and understand everything that's in these laws and the things that they're trying to pass now. It's not just we're trying to pass Law A. It's okay. Well, we're going to call it a bill to pass Law A, but we're going to sneak in laws and funding for B through Z as well. And if you don't agree with me, then we're going to go to the press and we're going to say that you hate all puppies and that you think that puppies should be all wiped out of the earth because that's what Bill A was protecting. And we're going to completely ignore the fact that you were actually trying to say that nuclear devices shouldn't be given to crazy
Right.
people or, you know, whatever.
That we shouldn't send the $12 billion over to Ukraine
Yeah.
and then funnel the rest of the money through Afghanistan or wherever it's going so that it goes to Russia, right? So we're funding both sides of a war
Yeah.
without people really knowing that we're funding both sides of the war. And yes, I probably sound crazy, but if you really pay attention enough, that stuff's really happening.
Yeah.
And in the back end, okay, here's something that I have not been able to figure out.
Okay.
Did you send me the water quality grading?
I sure did.
Okay.
Yeah.
What hit home? Okay, can you explain to them a little bit what that was? So who do you remember who did the grading?
It's a national service, but I don't remember. They grade every state, and I can't remember what department it is. But there's a national department that does grading of a whole slew of different things for every single state each year. And the grades are A through E, just like they would be in public schools. And it's everything from road conditions to water quality to, I think pollution was on there. I don't remember what all the categories are, but there's a bunch of different categories.
I don't know if this will come through or not, but I'm going to put it up to the mic so you can actually hear, without us getting taken down, all credit reserved on this to whoever this guy is. I don't even know who he is. It probably says who he is.
I'll post a link to the actual video on our Facebook so you can actually get to this guy's
This
site.
is not our information. This is just...
If you live in Michigan, you may want to think twice before taking another drink of water here. The American Society of Civil Engineers has completed its report on the state of Michigan, and they do this report yearly, and they look at everything from water quality to the quality of the roads to the strength of our electrical grid, and they assign a letter grade to each of those categories. For our water quality, we got a D, and spoiler alert, we did not get any A's or B's on this entire report. We got 5 C's and 9 D's, and I'm going to go through the list real quick and tell you what our grades were as a state. When it comes to Michigan's aviation, we got a C. Our railways got a C. Our dams got a C minus, which we saw one collapse a couple years ago, so I don't think that's much of a surprise to many people here. Our schools got a C minus. Solid waste, we got a C plus. Inland waterways, we got a C. Transit, C minus. Public parks, C. Wastewater, C. Our bridges, we got a D plus. Our roads, no surprise here, we got a D. Our drinking water, got a D plus. Energy, a D, which after how many of us sat in the dark during this winter while the storms happened, I don't think that comes as a surprise. And to finish off the list, we got a D for stormwater, which I believe that's how stormwater is drained, or where it drains off to, is what they're looking at there. So what do you think? Do you think it might sound like that our government may need to do a better job to get our state functioning? Let me know in the comments.
So that guy's name was at Uncle Sam on TikTok. I don't do TikTok. Lisa does TikTok, but she
I love TikTok.
often sends me, most of the time, funny little blurbs. Okay, here's the problem that I have with that. So everything since the beginning of COVID, actually everything since 2019, since our election, it has been my goal to not necessarily get upset about things, but to try to track down where things are coming from. And it's always the money. If you follow the money, you understand.
Yep.
Okay, in this case, one of the questions that I've had on my mind for a really long time is, what is the benefit to them allowing our infrastructure to collapse? This guy putting out this grading system video, and I do urge you all to go out to the reference that he had. Again, we'll list the link for the video, and we'll give him credit, and go out to that page that he was talking about, or the society that did the grading. Read the information yourselves. Don't ever just take what we're saying as gospel. This is Lisa and I chatting back and forth. I don't even watch the nightly news. My information is not coming from the news. All of this information is out there for you to find from the legitimate sources, so you can understand that we're not just making this stuff up.
Nope.
It's out there for you to find. You just have to do the work to find it. ABC News, CBS, NBC, Fox, none of them are just going to make it easy for you to find it.
Nope.
And in 2012, President Obama legit made it so they could control what was being put out on the media if it was in the public's best interest.
Yep.
But legit, okay, back to what I was saying.
Mhm.
What do they have to gain by allowing our infrastructure to collapse? What is the gain? There always has to be a gain when they're doing something. What is the gain?
Are you actually asking me, or are you?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Like, that is
I
an
wasn't
eternal
sure.
question. I have no idea.
I wasn't sure if that was an actual question or if that was. Well, so in my opinion, and again, this is just my opinion. If things start to collapse, we become more reliant on the government. If the government is feeding us, clothing us, housing us, we cannot stand up for ourselves.
So is it a push to the 15-minute cities?
I mean, maybe.
I mean,
don't
we could do a
know.
whole podcast on that one. Put that
Yeah.
one down on the list.
I'm writing that down right now. But I mean, that honestly, that's
If your external food sources were limited,
Yep.
if the roads were limited, if all they had to do was upkeep this radius,
Yeah.
and anything outside of the radius you were on your own.
Yep.
Okay, that could be a.
I mean, if they are feeding you and clothing you and housing you, you can't fight back because they don't have to feed you and house you and clothe you anymore. And if you're completely reliant on the government, which is a terrifying thought, but if you become reliant on the government, then they basically have reinstated modern day slavery because you are now owned by the government. What are you going to do? Are you going to stop eating? Are you going to stop being clothed? Are you going to stop being housed? You know, once they've got that control, you're toast. And by then it's too late. And that sounds super conspiracy theorist, but that's the only benefit I can think of to messing everything up. If it's intentional, if it's just the fact that they're incompetent, then that would be a whole different route.
Okay, so we put a pin note put a pin in it. That
Okay.
means we're gonna add a podcast to talk about that more in detail.
Yes.
Because I think that
We're going to come back to that.
well, unfortunately, the hard part when you start talking about that stuff, it's very easy to go off on tangents in different areas
Yes.
because it all ends up spider webbing,
Yep.
the Spider-Man effect. Let's call that.
Yes.
Trademark, registered trademark, Spider-Man effect. It's all webbing together. So this hate crime thing, hate law, man, it leaves it open to the interpretation of the victim, and that what
does.
makes it. And when you have right now in the state of Michigan, if you guys didn't know, right now we don't have the Democrats control the House, the
Yes.
Senate,
Yes.
the judiciary,
The governor's mansion.
the governor's mansion, Secretary of State.
Yes. We are a democratic city.
We
State.
are
State.
a
My
Democrat run, and it is they're pushing control. And the hard thing here is, and I keep saying this, okay, you have Roe versus Wade that was overturned, right?
Yes.
And in the state of Michigan, they like really quick went back and they got a hold, or what's it called, a stay put on like a 1937-ish law, which banned abortion here in Michigan, and then they took it to the ballot, and we voted, and magically, more people wanted to kill babies.
Yes.
Okay. If anybody's ever interested, you know what it would be, and Lisa's going to have to really decide if she's willing to go down that rabbit hole with me. But we could do a podcast on the whole historical creation of Planned Parenthood
Oh, we should.
and what
Yes.
the intention was.
Margaret Sawyer? Which Margaret?
Sanger.
Was it? Sanger. I always say the wrong one.
Margaret Sanger would be very, and we'll use the word because that'll make everyone here in Michigan proud. She would be very proud right now, because my theory is, and you can mark this as conspiracy if you want, but my theory is this whole gender transitioning thing being forced by the government and control, allowing children to do this, take the hormones, castration, mutilation. How is that not just another form of forced birth control and population reduction? Because if you are feeding girls testosterone
Yeah.
and depleting off their estrogen in their most vital moments in their development, puberty,
Yep.
when they come back to it, and they will come back to it, they're not going to be able to have babies.
No.
And you get these boys, and they castrate them.
Yep.
And they remove said parts, but castration is removing those testicles. They're not going to be able to create life.
Nope.
And you're going to end up with a worse situation than China's one-child law.
Yeah. Well, and there's once they sign up for this, even if they detransition, they are stuck.
And nobody helps them
medical-
detransition.
No,
They're on their own.
They're stuck with lifelong medical issues.
Yes.
That they're going to have to be dependent on doctors and things like that for the rest of their lives.
Well, to
And
keep
they're
it
gonna
going,
have-
they're stuck with
Yeah.
medical.
But I mean, even if they detransition, even if they go back to square one and try to stop the puberty blockers or anything like that, like afterward there are so many side effects and things like that I follow a lady also on TikTok who has started a foundation for people who are detransitioning, because she transitioned when she was a kid. She didn't know, she was like 13, and people were pushing her to say she needed to transition because she felt like a boy.
Oh yeah, that was probably a 15-minute conversation that she had with someone.
Probably, but she transitioned and then detransitioned, and because of all of the things that happened inside of her own body from this transition and detransition, she is now medically dependent for the rest of her life for all these different conditions that were created from the transitioning and the detransitioning process. But she wasn't told that any of this was even possible before.
And if it's illegal to speak out on that stuff,
Yes. Yes.
the agenda continues
Yes.
without question.
Which is terrifying, because if you are an adult and you are able to think for yourself and you make the decision, that is a whole different ball game to me than if you are 12, 13, 14 years old, sometimes even younger, and you are making a decision that will impact the rest of your life. Like, this is insane to me that this is even a conversation.
Between Flash and Spider-Man, that made up almost 3-year period in our house where the costumes were more on than off.
Yeah.
Bailey, my youngest,
Yeah.
legit, for like 3-4 years, thought he could run as fast as Flash. Because he'd run, and he'd be like, Mom, was that as fast as Flash? Yeah, buddy, that was fast.
Yeah, you so fast.
But was he Flash? No, he wasn't Flash.
Sebastian, for probably 2-3 years, his entire goal in life was to create a genetic medication so that he could be a raptor. He wanted to turn himself into a velociraptor.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so that was his, when he grew up, that was what he was going to be.
If you have met her son, Well, if you've met her son, you know he's crazy like she is. However,
Yes, he is.
he is legit smart enough where I could see someday he would actually be able to attempt something like that.
He's either,
Like, right? I mean, he's
going to do great things, or he's going to be infamous. One of the two.
going to the history fair and seeing his display, the Godzilla.
Yes.
Okay, not accurate history and time per se, but his level of knowledge of the details
Yeah.
was very impressive. Now, I didn't see the back end. I don't know if you starved him with food to get him to memorize that stuff, or if he legit had that level of interest.
Yeah. No, when he gets interested in something, he clings to it, and he will learn everything
Yep.
he can, and you cannot stop him. Like, he will sneak behind your back and find educational videos on subjects if you tell him.
Yes,
No.
Bailey does the same thing.
Oh my
He
gosh.
and Travis on the way to church yesterday were discussing in intimidating detail
Uh-oh.
different engines and gear ratio
That's awesome.
for I don't know if it's like energy output or like torque or like what. I have no idea what they were talking about.
Bailey's going to be an amazing inventor one day.
All I knew was, when have you ever? I've never exposed him to either. Where did you find that information? How do you? But Trav does have an engineering degree and legit understands all of that. And Bailey was carrying on this conversation on a college level.
Subject.
What?
Yeah. Yeah. Yep.
I felt really stupid by the time. I mean, even, okay, one of the benefits of homeschooling is, and I don't know how you do, but for me, because we do it a little bit different, like I get to go through the information with them.
Yes.
And I'm learning and relearning, but more importantly, learning things I never knew,
Yeah.
either because I was asleep at that point in time when they taught it in school, or I just legit had no interest, or maybe they didn't even teach it.
Yes.
But I feel like after the conversation that he had, that I missed like a whole month of education of something with him. And it's crazy. And then I said I'm listening to you guys, and I have no idea what you're talking about. And Travis started textbook describing to me what gear ratio was, and you know, anybody who's listening to this that's an engineer, if I'm saying it wrong, I'm sorry, I'm not. This is Amy layman terms, idiot book, whatever. I stopped Trav and I'm like, just stop right there. Because I know you're talking about like little gear things turning, but I don't know. Like, I need pictures. I need to actually physically,
Yes.
whatever, see the fluids going through. But I don't know about that. It just blows my mind.
Yeah.
But
you're really smart mechanically too. Like, you can think of stuff and in your head just realize, okay, if I put the coagulator with
the flux capacitor.
the flux capacitor and mix it with this snarf over here, it's going to create a time machine in micro black holes, which I can then use to create a wormhole through space and time, and then my chicken coop's going to be really cool. So those were all technical scientific terms too, by the way.
I know exactly. Sadly, I know exactly what she's talking about.
Yeah.
I have always approached things from I wonder if I could, and then insert sentence, or I wonder if this would, but I don't know the science explanation behind any of it. I've always had this ability. When Trav takes her, we're going to get rid of something. I typically, like, I have a box that has wheels in it, and I will always save the wheels, the tires. I'll save gears. I'll save belts.
All kinds of treasures.
Because in my mind, screws, hinges,
Yes.
because there always ends up being something that comes up where, oh, if we only had, and when it came, okay, for the brooder box, and we're not doing chickens today, we're doing chickens next.
Yes.
I was able to just look out in the pole barn, and I kind of had an idea what I wanted it to look like in my head,
Yeah.
but I was just able to grab from said boxes and piles things. And Travis gets really mad at me because there's not an AutoCAD or a SolidWorks drawing to go along with what's in my head.
It's all just sitting up there.
And I will only tell him 1 to 3 steps at a time. But that's because as we get into it, sometimes we get to step 3, and I'm like, hold on a second.
I don't like that anymore. I'm gonna change it.
Let's take step 3 off, back to step 2, and let's go this new direction.
Yep.
But in the end, like, I knew what I wanted, or if my cousin Tiffany is listening, when I made her bunk beds for her kids, and I got to make 2 more bunk beds. But Travis came home, and I knew we had to get the bunk beds. We were leaving to her house, and it was like the night before, and I just, okay, here's what I need. I need 4 posts, 4 4x4 posts at 80 inches. I need this, I need that, I need this at 82, blah, blah, blah. And all I was giving him was types of boards and measurements that I needed cut. I didn't draw anything out.
Yes.
I didn't write anything down. And I came out there as he's cutting stuff, and he's legit like throwing stuff down to the ground, mad. And I said, well, I'm so sorry. Why? How can I help? What are you mad at? I don't understand. And he's like, you just gave me all of these dimensions and things to cut. I don't even know what it's going to look like. And I said to him, but has anything I ever asked you when I've done this not turned out in the end? And he's like, no, it does. And I said, well, if you can just trust me, that would be great.
That would be great.
It's taken him a long time to learn that I don't know the technical names for 90% of the stuff that I use. So I'll use terms like thingamabob,
Yes.
the little ratchet little thingamajigger thing. He gets mad because instead of sawhorses, I call them seesaws. And I always have, and I always will, even though I know what they're called. Can you get out the seesaws for me? And he's like, the sawhorses? No, seesaws.
No, I don't want those.
I don't want seesaws. I want seesaws.
The seesaws are better than the
Because
sawhorses.
at one point, I didn't know what they were called. Now I know what they're called, but I'm still going to call them seesaws because they're
Yep.
seesaws to me.
Yep.
And now we've gone off on another tangent.
We have.
And so we probably should end this podcast
Yes.
and move on to the next.
Yes.
I hope everyone is enjoying their time with us. I know often we don't stick to topic, but if you can appreciate the fact that we are just here to get things off our chest and talk about stuff, and you want to get your cup of coffee and you just want to sit back and hopefully chuckle a little bit as we get into some of these more serious topics, we like having you.
yeah. We like
it's-
talking to you.
And
Well,
we like,
talking to each
obviously,
other.
we like talking in general.
Yeah.
So,
And we enjoy the interaction. We've been getting some really good feedback from some people, and we would love more of that. And we hear you. We had a request for chickens, so we are going to do an episode just on chickens. And if we have any more requests, we will try to fulfill those requests.
yeah, send us feedback. We're trying to get better. We're
Yeah.
trying to evolve. We are not professional recording artists.
You should have had people sit down before you said that. You probably just shocked half of our audience. They probably just like fell down.
They could have
They
thought
had
that
no
we were
idea.
just really naturally good, and that is possible.
Yeah.
But we are just learning how all of this equipment and this stuff works. And as homeschool moms, I think the fact that we were even able to get our voices recorded onto and posted online
Yeah.
with that wonderful theme song and laughter,
Yes.
I think that is remarkable in itself. And
Agreed.
thank you very much for the support. Love you guys.
Love you. Bye.